Yes. Daryl sent me the email, mid to late December, about reappointment.
And people like you?
I guess.
All right.
I guess. I don't know if they like me, but they
Free strawberries.
Yeah. Maybe there were no other applicants. I don't know. I haven't even heard it.
Okay, I would like to call the January 11th, 2017 meeting of the Zoning Commission to order. Will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Belinsky.
Here.
Mr. Zabel.
Here.
Ms. Himmelin.
Here.
Mr. Cott.
Here.
Mr. Creedy.
Here.
Okay, our first item of business is to approve the minutes from the December 14th meeting. Do I have a motion to do that?
Motion.
I have a motion from Mr. Sable. Do I have a second from Mr. Cott? Any additions or corrections to those meetings? Looked like the project we talked about got approved by the trustees.
Yes.
Okay. So can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Zelinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Zabel.
Yes.
Ms. Himmelin.
Yes.
Mr. Cott.
Yes.
Mr. Creedy.
Abstain.
Okay. We have no old business, and our new business is primarily connected to the election of officers and establishing meeting dates. The one thing, and I was talking to Daryl about this just a moment before, we have traditionally had a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. Now, you'll notice that there is not on here, actually, I think, Mr. Creaky, you are the current secretary. And
You secretary?
Fine job he's done.
it's fine.
This was tough.
Yeah, I mean, there is some question, and I had actually thought of it myself. I mean, a chair, vice chair makes sense in terms of, somebody presides, that person can't be there, the other person presides. The secretary's role, as I remember through my history of the Zoning Commission, used to play a more formal role in terms of reading things formally into the minute. And we have sort of moved away from that practice as, we have done more electronic things where the whole meeting is recorded, it's put out on the web. The agenda is very public on the web because I actually had to check it today just to double check some things. And, and all the documents, contain really, we haven't done that whole reading. So I guess I would put to you is, do we want to add on here the election of a secretary to the agenda, or do we just want to let that role pass away?
Do we need to vote on that, or?
I don't think we need to. Maybe just whether we do it or not.
Yeah, I don't see any necessary position for it. Really, like you said, I think it was 2 years in a row and really nothing.
Right.
Between Daryl's presentation he makes.
Yeah.
And I guess if anyone needs to read anything out of the code, if someone from the public wants
could
to
ask
hear
somebody,
it,
yeah.
any of us could,
Right.
could just pick somebody and say,
Just trying to sort of simplify things. So we will then concentrate primarily on the election of officers of the chair and the vice chair. So the first item of business is to elect a chair, and I will entertain nominations.
are you comfortable in that chair?
Me?
Yeah.
Works for me.
I will nominate Mary Himmeline for chairman of the zoning board.
I'll second it.
Are there any additional nominations? Hearing none, we will close nominations, and if you can call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Belinsky.
Yep.
Mr. Zabel.
Yes.
Ms. Himmelin.
Yes, and thank you very much for your confidence.
Mr. Cott.
Yep.
Mr. Creedy.
Yes.
Motion carries. We then need to elect a vice chair. That is currently Mr. King. Do I have nominations for the position of vice chair?
You'll leave it the same.
He wasn't here.
So I move to leave it as it is. Mr.
Okay.
King.
We're nominating Mr. King. Do we have a second for that nomination?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for Mr. King. I remember one time I was at a party and I left it and I came back and found I'd been elected to something. So we can just tell him this is probably...
If you don't want it, you better
Tell him
keep
there's
it.
one more thing on his plate.
One more thing. So anyway, we have a motion and a second. We've closed nominations, so if you can call the roll to elect Mr. King as the vice chair.
Mr. Belinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Zabel.
Yes.
Ms. Himmelin.
Yes.
Mr. Cott.
Yes.
Mr. Creedy.
Yes.
Okay, and our last item of business is to establish the 2017 meeting dates, and you have tentative dates for the, following our pattern of the second Wednesday, right, throughout the year?
Right, if the board chooses to keep second Wednesday as the meeting.
And I think we're also talking about keeping the starting time at 6 o'clock. Does that still work pretty much for everybody?
We were wondering, what's the trustees doing this year? Did they keep theirs fairly
Trustees kept
early?
theirs at 5. If there's I guess there's been some complaints from residents that when the trustees hear a zone change, the 5 o'clock is difficult for some of the residents to make. So they decided last night what they would do if there is a zone change. They would still have the regular trustees meeting at 5 o'clock, but the zone change portion of it would be at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
But to answer your question, trustees meetings are going to be at 5. And the Board of Zoning Appeals also meet at 5 o'clock as well.
So we're late, we're the latest ones as it is.
You guys are.
We used to be 7 though, when I first started,
It
right?
used to be later, yeah.
You guys are
And I
very-
think at one time we had talked about moving it back, but the people that were on the committee at the time said that that was going to be difficult given their work commitments.
Yeah, I definitely don't want it any earlier.
Yeah, oh,
There's
you don't
certain
want it
times of the
earlier?
year where, well, even, I don't know about Joe, but did you come from downtown?
Oh, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, so you think 6:30 to 7 would be better, easier?
No, I'm fine with 6, I just don't want to move it any sooner.
Sure.
Okay, that's what, yeah, I think that's why we
I
kept it
can,
at
I can go
6.
6, but any sooner than that.
I don't want to go any sooner.
What's that?
I don't want to go any
Yeah,
sooner.
definitely can't go any,
Okay, so leave it at 6?
Like Daryl said, I mean, some of these people don't get off work if they want to come to a meeting and
Right, if they work till 5, and
Yeah.
then, like I said, if they work downtown, or if they work in Bowling Green or something.
So we're looking at 6.
Well, that's up
Keep
to the board.
Keep it at 6?
that's
You can
fine,
make it
I
7
guess.
a.m. Saturday morning if you
Yeah.
want.
Well, then it's 6.
I mean,
I can
the
work my
outskirts around us, a
schedule
lot of them
around
are at 7.
Okay.
You know, the other communities, but I guess if we haven't had any, when there's real big ones, yeah, you hear from some community members that 6 is a little tough, but it's better than 5 for a
Okay.
trustee meeting, so.
Well, then let's leave it at 6. So we are talking about the second Tuesday at 6 o'clock and
Wednesday.
on Wednesday. Other meetings are on Tuesday, because I'm back to back. So if we have a motion then to approve the meeting dates as they are before you,
Moved.
we have a motion, I'll second that. So we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Call the roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Belinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Ms. Himelline.
Yes.
Mr. Cott.
Yes.
Mr. Creedy.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
I have a question. What is the cutoff date? If someone wants a zoning change, what's the cutoff date in order for them to come and see us? I mean, the month
It's
before.
about 4 or 5 weeks before, or maybe 6 weeks even, before the Lucas County Plan Commission meeting date, and they typically meet on the, I believe it's the 4th Wednesday of the month. So, yeah, I think it's about 5 weeks prior to that.
And you were getting us the information a week in advance, so that, I like that. Have a chance
That's
to
right.
look at, yeah. That's good. Okay, that's all I asked.
Any other
I
questions?
have one procedural question. I was at a school board meeting the other night, and I just noticed when they call the roll, or for a vote, they stagger. So I didn't know if there's a process for that. You know, like tonight, she started at Belinsky every time. I don't know if it matters or not, but I noticed they stagger, like the next time, so the voting is never in the same sequential order.
I made a
You may have to look
note
into
to
that.
look that up in Robert's rules. I was thinking there was something like.
Some people do it, whoever makes the motion
I was just gonna
votes
say,
first,
the
and then
person
it
that makes
follows.
The motion should be polled first, and whoever second.
Yeah, I think we
polled
should,
next, and
Yeah, I remember that. Who made the motion, who seconded it, are the
Yeah, I
first
think
two
we
to...
used to do it that way. I don't know if that's necessarily in Robert's rules.
The,
or not, but
well, I know what
double check that.
you're talking about, and typically,
they never
when they
voted in the
stagger it,
same
you start
order.
with one person, and then whoever was, you just keep moving and rotating. It's easier if you don't tie it to the motion, because you'd be having to have a little chart to know who to start with, each time. So, okay, I did this one first, I did this one first.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but obviously where I sit, I would always vote last then. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's not that, I just noticed other
It
boards
is
I've
actually a
been
good
on,
idea to stay.
they do stagger
You
the
don't like
vote.
being last, do you?
People staring at you.
Well, and the main reason to do it is, when you have many of our votes are unanimous. But it does sort of, who goes first and who goes last, and that pressure you feel depending on so it switches the pressure.
Well,
If it's
because
a
I know
split
Val
vote.
it always staggered, it never
Yeah.
went the same, and I don't know how she,
Yeah, she
where she
probably
read
had,
it
I've
or
got the
this-
names here, I can't mistake,
Yeah.
you know, and
well, why don't we just start doing that then?
start staggering.
I think you just get in early and switch your date. Tag.
We could just put you down, yeah.
no, I just knew that
No.
the process had changed, and I said,
No.
well, wait a minute,
No.
I don't know if there's an actual
No,
legal way to do
it's a
it.
good observation. Okay? Keep on,
That's why you
we're going,
got
that's a
me
good
for
practice.
smart.
Any other things that we need to discuss before we look at the year ahead? And you said there's nothing in February at this point?
No.
So probably no
Any,
February.
land use plan meetings for, I know Crandall called me and just said late January, maybe
Yeah, it
February.
needs to be early February. I'd have to look at the chart.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be in
What
January.
kind of turnout did you have at that meeting?
There was about 20, 22, 23. I didn't think it was a great turnout.
Yeah, but wasn't it like 10 degrees that night?
Yeah.
I
It was
in
a weird
Florida, so I
night,
don't
because
know.
I came.
Well, what kind
But
of?
the consultants seemed to be happy with it, because I met with them before the meeting, and
Yeah.
I said, you guys have done this before, what do you expect? And about 15 people. And, we had, 23 or whatever, although most of them were people that were on our committees, so I think there's only maybe about 6 people that were, just
Well, and I would say,
citizens that weren't on any of the
Did
subcommittees.
they have questions and do they?
the way the consultants did it, because I did attend the meeting, is it was primarily a presentation to the community of the process and the steps that we'd be going through. So, I mean, it wasn't like that, let's pick an area of, what you would put in the land use plan and solicit feedback. I think that's sort of their
And they
intent.
attached a survey to it also.
Right, well, a survey. And so, I mean, the things that I would, say is that, they did a pretty good job, of outlining, although there were a lot of people off the committees already. But there were some other people, and there were councilmen from Sylvania that attended, they did a good job of outlining the process. And I think, probably the biggest thing is to make sure that when we have the community forums the next time, because we had missed having it in the advantage and things because of the deadlines. So to make sure that we're out there, if we know the dates, and if we could get those set up, then, to get them in the advantage and meet their publication deadline, because we had just missed it.
Sure.
And then I think the other thing is to make sure, because the survey's live now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is-
It'll be on through November.
Yeah, to make sure that people know about the survey.
And are those coming back to the township office, or are they going right
No.
to Reveal or Revel?
It's electronic. And so unless they're
So
filling out,
you don't have any way of knowing how many are filled out yet?
No, I can talk to Glenn and see,
I was just thinking about printing some out and getting them out in the community a little more, just so we get more feedback, you know what I mean?
it's an online survey.
I mean, the best thing is even if you printed it out, but to put the link,
Sure,
because
they can go to it.
in fact, I just did a survey with the tool they're using, so I'm pretty familiar with it, because he can log in any day he wants for a minute and tell you how many people have answered. But I think to publicize the link and get it out there, and, depending on how you want to distribute it, because like I know, for example, and I haven't done anything, but like in my neighborhood, I mean, there's an email distribution list for the neighborhood association. It'd be very easy to take that link, I mean, we're in the township, and say, hey, share this with the neighbors, okay? You've got to find some key people who've got those kind of networks, or people who've got email lists, people who are on the committees who have, everybody has email lists.
Can you get to the Sylvania CIC?
Yeah, it could go out to the Sylvania CIC, it could go out
Don't they
to,
have a pretty detailed, they got.
yeah, Chamber of Commerce probably does,
numbers.
yeah.
Yeah, we're just right at the beginning
Yeah.
of rolling it out.
Yeah, and all you have to do is just send out the link, and people can click in the email, and they can go take the survey. So if you take advantage of your email distribution lists, and like I said, I've been sort of hesitant to do it in my neighborhood, just because it's like, okay, so my neighborhood does it, we have a great representation, but then other neighborhoods don't. It's not going to stop me before November from doing that, but, I haven't done it yet.
I'm afraid if you don't do that, you're not gonna get much of a.
Right.
I wouldn't know where to look right now, I haven't seen anything commercial.
Unless you went to the website.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, why would I do that? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't sit there and get bored and say I'm gonna get on Sylvania Township's website.
It's just so exciting.
Yeah.
Hey, you can drop your Christmas tree off.
I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to think.
Yeah. But there's a lot of ways to advertise it. I mean,
Right.
you know, I know the schools, I mean, whether they would cooperate, but Scott's on the committee, I mean, they have a place where you can put up flyers on their website. I don't know how often it's looked at, but that's the only way they allow distribution to parents anymore is electronic flyers of events and registrations and things. I mean, you've got all these organizations that have got email lists. I mean, the chamber does, CIC certainly does.
Those two right there.
Yeah. I
I
would
just
guess
hate-
you
I just
have
hate to go-
customer, I would bet you have customer lists.
We do, not as good as it probably should be, but
Yeah.
I just hate to see us go through the effort and, you know, the bill, the total package, what this is costing, and then have people say, well, I never knew anything about the
Right.
land use plan, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you know that there's still gonna be
Well, and
some.
because I think the questions on the survey are good enough to get a sense
Sure.
to really drive the plan. And then you can also, you know, say, I mean, you know, then it also would give you a chance to, you know, distribute it in other ways, you know, when the next meetings are and stuff. So I think, you know, to do a little bit more organized
Yeah.
community distribution. I mean, I get the advantage, I'll be honest, even though my sister works on it, I don't necessarily read it in depth. I mean, I flip through. But, I mean, if something comes on email, I mean, I mean, we ought to be trying to hit 1,000 people. I mean, I just sent out a survey to 300 people, I got 100 people to respond. Yeah, it took me 2 reminders, but, you know, if we got some, working with some of those groups that got something out now and then did another reminder like in August, you know, hey, if you haven't done it.
And it's, what would you say that survey takes? 5 minutes?
It's designed to take less than 10.
Yeah, it was
I
fairly,
think 18 questions.
it's not real in-depth, but like you said, if you make it too complicated, 5 page, no one's gonna fill it out.
No. People will give you 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I mean, it's easy because you're just clicking. I mean, it's all multiple choice, you know, radio buttons.
So even Mike could do it?
You could, as long as he can read. You have to read.
You can even do it from Florida.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something I think we could talk about.
One other thing too, while I'm thinking about it, we are looking for an alternate for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
So we are taking applications for that through the end of January, so if you know anybody that might be interested, we've had 2 or 3 people already that have applied, but,
Serve on both boards?
I'm sorry?
Talking about serving on both boards?
No, I said,
No, just for the
if you know anybody.
the alternate.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to
You-
adjourn.
The 2 of them want to go home.
Yeah.
You'll figure that out. Okay, call the roll, please.
Okay, Ms. Klein,
Yes.
Mr. Kriege,
Yes.
Mr. Cott,
Yep.
Mr. Zabel,
Yes.
Mr. Belinski.
How you like that?
There, she got us going down.
How about that? Okay,
For the
everybody,
loop, she even skipped a person.
have a good month.
We'll never figure out her sequence
No,
now.
we'll see you in March.
That's good.
Yeah.